Get the wheels turning. So we are live. So
Sorry for the
delay, guys. So good morning, everybody. How's everybody doing? All right, awesome. So let's get started on our next traveling to class. We're gonna go to Virginia.
Yeah.
Yet another state within the American East Coast. So, yeah, we're going to learn some very interesting things about Virginia. We're going to talk about its historical importance, and we're going to talk about some famous people, one of which you probably wouldn't expect is from Virginia. You're going to like this, Vanessa.
Yes.
So let's get started. So, where is Virginia, ladies and gentlemen?
Over the East Coast.
All the way in the East Coast, right over here. So if you look over here, Virginia is bordered by West Virginia, Maryland, and North Carolina, and a little over here is Kentucky, and we just talked about this, Tennessee. So that's where Virginia is located, and the capital of Virginia is Richmond.
Right.
So before we go any further, by a show of hands, has anyone been to Virginia? 1, 2. Okay, only 2. That's totally fine. Don't worry about it. So as long as somebody's been to Virginia. So here's my question. How was it over there?
Nice. Beautiful.
It was very good. You too, Matt? Yep. You too, Carmen?
Yes.
So yeah, I'm gonna learn some new things about Virginia and probably things we wish we thought of sooner. So to those of you at home, if you haven't been to Virginia, it has the typical 4 seasons. It gets cold during the winter season, warm during the summer season, and I'm pretty sure, as some of us can attest to, yeah, it could get pretty snowy over there. I imagine it gets pretty worse around the Appalachian Mountain area right over here. So let's move on to the next slide. So we're going to talk about some brief history. Hold up.
Too far?
Too far. Right over here. So here's what Virginia used to look like on a map. It was called Virginia and Florida. Long story, but let's talk about some brief history here. So along here, there used to be Native Americans called the Powhatan, Algonquin, and remember the Iroquois people? Yeah, from the Illinois episode. Yeah, those are some of the people who inhabited these areas. They still do. And prior to Americans being settled around here, there were English, Irish, Scottish, and Welsh colonizing these areas right over here, alongside Virginia Beach as well. And to those of you who are probably wondering why it's called Virginia, it was named in honor of a certain queen by the name of Queen Victoria. Excuse me, Queen Elizabeth I. Yeah, who is in turn later on an ancestor of Queen Victoria. So Queen Elizabeth was often called the Virgin Queen because she never married. So she spent pretty much her entire life never having a husband. So when the settlers came here, it was right around the time when Queen Elizabeth I was Queen of England. And since then, it has undergone some changes of being the first colony to declare its independence within U.S. history. And alongside them would have been other people like the Dutch and the French, who would have been part of the colonies too. And it is often called the birthplace of a nation because this is where the famous delegation happened, where the American founding fathers came together, declared independence. So we learn something new every day. Let's move on. So I know that Veterans Day has passed.
Yep.
So this is where our veterans are buried.
Yep.
A lot of them anyway, at Arlington Cemetery. So if you ever go to Virginia, this is where you pay your respects to the veterans who have served our country So that's
Nice.
something that I would like to visit too.
Yeah, that's nice. I didn't know it was in Virginia.
Yeah, Arlington, Virginia is where
Is that like the big one?
it's probably the biggest one we have in this country.
Nice, because I know that's at Riverside.
I would say a good majority of these people buried were veterans of both the American Civil War and the Revolution.
Okay.
And then obviously you have the recent wars like World War II, the Korean War, Vietnam. So you have all these different veterans who have served and who have gave their lives to our country. So may their fall and rest, as we say. So let's move on to the next slide. So who's hungry?
Me.
Not you.
No.
Why not?
The rest of us are.
Hey, when you're part of my class, you're always hungry. That's the rule. I'm just kidding. I made that up just now.
Okay.
Okay. So this is Brunswick stew. So in case you're wondering, Brunswick stew is basically a tomato stew, but it's thrown in with some other vegetables like onions and carrots, just to name a few things. This is just one of their many dishes that a recipe that's been around for a long time. So let's move on to the next one. This is Virginia National Bridge. It's a natural bridge, and back then it was seen as a sacred place. Nowadays, if you walk underneath this bridge, some say it's pretty echoey. Other people say that you can hear voices in there, even when you're by yourself.
Oh, no. Oh, no.
Yeah. But other than that, there are native peoples who see this as a sacred place still. Yeah, it's a natural bridge, but no, don't worry. If you're afraid of heights, you don't have to go on top of here. Besides, it's kind of restricted anyway. That's how I am understanding this. And kind of the funny thing about this place is that, the Native Americans, they would cross underneath the bridge. They would sometimes walk over it, depending on their purposes of being there in the first place. So let's move on to the next one. Remember when I said the Appalachian Mountains is one part of the future of Virginia? This is it. So here's the Appalachian Mountains. Well, not during winter or autumn, but this is a view of the Appalachian Mountains. So this is what borders Virginia to the west, and you got the Atlantic to the east. So what you'll notice here is that the Appalachian Mountains is basically one giant system. So to those of you who cannot see right over here, especially here at home, the Appalachian Mountains goes from Virginia and it goes all the way to northern Florida. So it's a lot more than just a mountain on Virginia. Nope. It goes along like a spine.
Wow.
Yep. So let's go on to one more slide about what it's known for. Oh, before we do that, I forgot about this. Just to give you an idea, this is what the Appalachian Valley looks like, the Greater Valley, and colors right here. So it goes from all the way to the state of Maine, and it goes all the way down here to Georgia, and to some extent Florida. So it encompasses a handful of states, a lot of them, well, East Coast states. So whoever wants to go to the Appalachian Mountains, start at Maine, go to Georgia. There's your hike. So let's move on. Here's some more trails. Oh yeah, that's right. I forgot to mention. There's a trail, a literal trail, that goes from the tip of Maine all the way to the tip of Florida.
Wow, that looks long.
Yeah. Whoever wants to go hiking, good luck with this. I wish you the best of luck. So yeah, don't expect me to go walking there. Let's wait for the real heroes to go. Let's move on. Recognize this place, you guys? This is Mount Vernon. This is the ancestral home of one George Washington. Yeah. George Washington was born and raised in this little area, and for a long time it was a plantation, and this is where he got much of his wealth from. It wasn't until after he became president and after his term of service was up, that's when he spent a good majority of his time here in his ancestral home. It's been said he died here. So he spent a good chunk of his life raised here, and he spent the last days here. So I guess we could say we come full circle. So let's talk about some famous people. Speaking of which, George Washington, the first president and one of our founding fathers. Yeah, do you know who he is?
George Washington.
Yep, first president of the United States. And Virginia is also been given the nickname the mother of presidents because, I kid you not, the vast majority of our presidents came from here. Well, not the vast majority, but 8 U.S. presidents were born and raised in Virginia. I have a list right here.
Okay.
They include the aforementioned George Washington. Then you have 3rd president, Thomas Jefferson. 4th president, James Madison. 5th president, James Monroe. 9th president, Henry William Harrison. And yes, it just keeps going. 10th president, John Tyler. 12th president, Zachary Taylor. 23rd president, Benjamin Harrison. And 28th president, Woodrow Wilson.
Wow.
Yes, ladies and gentlemen, it's called the mother of presidents because, yeah, it seems like a lot of presidents came from that one state. George Washington being one of them, and the first. The man on your $1 bill. The man on your nickel, too. The 5-cent coin. So let's move on to the next one. This is probably Vanessa's favorite.
Yes.
Anyone know who this is? Anybody? You know who is? Do you know who he is? Yeah. His name is Pharrell Williams. Yeah, famous pop star from Virginia. He was born and raised there. You know him for songs like Happy. So yeah, if you would, this is one individual you might have heard of. His songs have circulated around the radio quite a lot. And so if you turn on the radio next time, there's a very good chance you'll hear his songs. So let's move on to the next one. So here's a map of Virginia, the physical map anyway. So if you look over here, ladies and gentlemen, you'll notice that a lot of people live either within Alexandria, Richmond, or Norfolk. And so these are some of the more, I guess you could say, populated cities. And here's Richmond, the capital of Virginia. And you'll notice that a lot of people live right around the river system here. And so Virginian, well, 8 million people live in Virginia as of right now. And so you'll notice that 69% of Virginians are white Americans, 20 are black Americans, 7 are Asian Americans, 14 are Hispanic or Latino, and the rest are other races. The most common ancestry in Virginia is English, Irish, Welsh, Polish, and German. Where's Laura? She will be proving my point yet again. So yeah, that's Virginia for you. Oh, and here's a little bit of the Appalachian right over here. Balsam Barrington Mountain, yeah, that's part of the Appalachian. So let's conclude today's class.
Awesomeness. Anybody have any questions for Jeremy?
Any questions?
Any questions? What's your question, Katie?
Mm-hmm.
Virginia?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. What about you, Matthias, any questions?
No.
What about you, Patricia?
And you,
Any question for, Jeremy?
No?
oh, you got one, you cook, no.
I do. Do you have anything about what the weather might be? Because I would love to retire in Virginia.
Well, it gets pretty warm during the spring and summer seasons.
Okay.
During the autumn and winter seasons, you expect a lot of snow.
So do you get to see the change of seasons there?
Oh yeah, you'll see the maple leaves and you'll see the cedar trees. You'll see the leaves change.
Okay, nice.
Yeah. So if any of you are interested in going to Virginia, remember, it is a place that can only be described as a capsule. A time capsule that hasn't changed much, but I'll tell you this much. If you ever go to Virginia, try the food, meet the people, learn a bit of the history of this country, all in one state. So just be sure that if you're going to go in the winter season, bring a very thick coat. We've been seeing a lot of snow in Virginia. Yeah, Matt.
You go, college football team.
College football. What college football team?
Yeah, college,
What team is it? What's the name of the college team?
senior, crazy college football team.
Well,
Virginia Tech?
Oh, no, I think.
Okay, what's their name?
You're a senior.
yeah,
You're a big city.
Virginia State?
No, you're a big city. In the
City?
In the big city?
Georgia,
Huh?
Georgia is the beauty, you know.
I tried looking for any teams within Virginia, one of which does not exist anymore.
Right?
Which is who?
There was this one football team. It was an indoor football team. I don't remember what they were called though. I think there was something like
I
Brunswick.
have the college teams as Virginia Cavaliers.
Yeah, that one.
That one? Okay.
Yeah, that was nowhere within my research.
Yeah. That's because it's in Richmond.
That's why.
Our buddy, yeah, buddy.
Yeah, well, there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. So be sure to visit Virginia if you ever get a chance. So, Carmen, you have something to look forward to if you ever plan on retiring over in Virginia.
I do. I just have to get my California blood ready for the snow.
Yep, you gotta adjust to the weather. I had to do the same thing when I went to the tropics of Hawaii. just a little bit. So, thank you, ladies and gentlemen. I've been your host, Jeremy. I'll see you on the road.
Thank you so much. Good job.
I'm good, job. Go. Yeah, good deal.
Yeah, good.